Okay, now who are you?
Carlos Villalon, how you doing, Alex?
Where have you been?
Last 10 years I've been in Colombia.
Uh-huh.
I got basically an assignment with Getty 10 years ago for like a month, and then I liked the story very much. I ran into an incredible story, so I decided to stay. I worked there with Getty for 2 years, and then I changed agents, went to Polaris for a while, and then with Redox Pictures, which I'm still represented by
So
them.
you started here back in what year?
Like 1990, I came first to New York
Uh-huh.
in 1990, and I was just, working as a waiter and saving money and going to places like India, Afghanistan.
So the show you did here was of,
It was Benares, Varanasi, in the Ganges banks
uh-huh.
in India. So that was what, 1996, 1997? I don't remember.
That was a that was a two-person show with Anthony Roberts, who subsequently passed away.
Exactly.
And you did the show with him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was doing a show on the homeless, and you was doing a show on
That was
the place where people go to die.
Exactly.
How long did you stay in India during that project?
I think that I did for a month, which actually thinking back, it's like nothing, It's so weird. Like now I'm working on a project that is already been taking me more than 10 years. Which is about coca plants and the drug called cocaine, which come from that plant. So it's a book project which is called A Visual Response to a Failed War, coca. And the failed war is the war against drugs, instated by the United States in 1940 something, I think it was. And for what I've seen, I've been traveling a lot into Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, even in Alaska. I've been working regarding this story, and I think it's a complete failed war, the way we approach drugs today,
So how are you structuring the story?
Well, I'm concentrating mainly in coca and cocaine. So what I'm still studying is I'm thinking like to approach the story or the book in 3 different chapters. The first chapter is gonna be like the indigenous coca. Coca is a millenarian plant used as medicine and sacred plant by some cultures in the Andes. So my first approach is go to these places where people think coca is absolutely sacred. Then in Colombia years ago I found communities that live out of coca plantations. They have their small laboratories at their farms, and they produce something that is called cocaine base, which is the step before producing actual cocaine. It's like something similar to crack in a way. So these people are so poor, they do this drug. Most of the time they don't have any cash or money, so they use the drug as their de facto money, and they buy at the pharmacies or liquor store or pay their doctor bills. Even they bet at cockfights with the drug, so it's very interesting. And then the third step of the book would be the actual narco trafficking. That the war the war amongst gangs in shanty towns in cities like Mexico or Colombia. What narco trafficking causes, like death and misery, and also the religious aspect of it and the musical part of it. There's this music called narco corridos in Mexico and Colombia, which basically musicians pay homage to the big drug traffickers or the big cartels, and also the narco traffickers establish saints like Santa Muerte or Jesus Malverde, which are, they have their own shrines all over Mexico, and people go and ask for favors like, hey, if I can cross the border with this 5 or 10 kilos of cocaine, I'll pay something to my saint, things like that. So basically, it's this book project I've been working for a long time, and now I think my editor, I've been talking to him for the last, I don't know, 6 months. I show him to him the last work or the last edit, and he's like, I think you're done, Carlos. You have all the material, and now we need to find a publishing house, and that's it.
So you're doing images with text?
I wanna write the introduction of the book because, to me, coca and cocaine has been very important in my life.
Have you had any issues working in that area?
Yeah, I mean, working in Colombia, I've been, getting into confrontations between guerrilla groups and the Colombian army, or sometimes you get a crazy guy with a gun threatening you. In Mexico, it's always dangerous, like some places in Mexico is very dangerous, so you gotta be very careful. But yeah, it's been some stories, some funny stories I could tell you, when we have more time and a beer. Next time I'm coming back, I think in a couple of months or 3 months. I want to come back with a actual physical dummy book.
Okay.
To go to see some editors,
Okay.
So I hope it works, man. It's been.
So how old are you now?
I'm 46.
Welcome to the club.
How old are you?
74.
Welcome to the club. Yeah.
So how are you photographing this stuff? You using digital cameras and
yeah, well,
storage?
the first step was all in negatives, color next. The stuff I did from 2000 to 2004, and then after that I changed to digital. But I'm doing another project in a different place, which is being all done on negatives. So I would really love to have the money to be shooting in negatives all the time. I like digital, don't get me wrong, but I absolutely can tell the difference between digital or negatives. Like when you see prints, or even when you see it on a computer screen.
So when you're working in those isolated areas and you pull out your camera, I guess you get some rather interesting responses, huh?
Yeah, these places where coca plants exist, especially when they aim to convert this plant into a drug, yeah, they're like weird spots. There's places where you run a lot into FARC guerrillas in Colombia or paramilitary forces.
So they could hear you coming then, right? And they just
Absolutely.
leave you alone and say, well, leave,
2 hours
he's
before
crazy,
you arrive,
so leave him alone.
Hey, what's up, But I made, back in 2000, I created very good relations with the FARC guerrillas. So, and I told them, I think this story about people using cocaine as de facto money, their de facto money is incredible. More than anything else, to me, it's a super social story because it tells of total government abandonment, these people don't have Colombian pesos, so what the hell is going on with the government? I told the guerrillas, and they were like, wow, man, we're like in the exact same spot, we think the same, and go ahead, do this story. And I worked there for 4 years, and I visited the guerrillas in their camps, and, no problem at all. I created a good working relationship with them, and I'm still have it, so it paid very well. Mexico, I've been like 4 months in Mexico for in the last 3 years, and it's always been incredibly difficult to work, very dangerous. and impossible to get to the big drug traffickers, like the Chapo Guzman or the whatever cartel. I try all the time. I went to bars, I went to street clubs. I sat entire nights there trying to make conversation with the guys, just the first approach, but never worked. So basically, I ended up photographing Mexico like in their maximum violence. It's been super violent the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about like
Mm-hmm.
50,000 dead just because of drug trafficking alone. So last year in Acapulco, I stayed there for 2 weeks, and I was basically photographing people after they were killed by the cartels. So arriving seconds after the person would get shot, and just arrive there and photograph if I could, sometimes the family grieving, or the police or the army, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's, yeah.
What was going on in Alaska?
In Alaska, that was funny. I went in '96. Before I went to India, I went to Alaska, basically to find money as a fisherman to pay my trip to India. I wanted to go to India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Kashmir. So I said, I'm going to Alaska for the summer. I make money, and then I go to India, to photograph.
Very dedicated.
Absolutely, and I love photography forever. And, I was looking for work in Alaska, and one day I ran into some guys, Mexican guys, on the streets of Anchorage. And they're like, hey man, how you doing? And I'm like, hey, how you doing? We're Mexicans, I'm Chilean, I'm looking for work. And they're like, oh, we're going to work in a cannery like a few miles from here. You want to come with us? And I'm like, all right. And they're like, actually, we work in the canneries, but we buy drugs, like amphetamines and cocaine and marijuana here in Anchorage, and then go to the canneries to sell this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm a photojournalist, and sounds very interesting, man. Could I go with you? And they were like, all right, man, jump in. So I stayed with these guys for 4 months, man, traveling all over Alaska, dealing cocaine and crack and marijuana.
Very good.
And they always were thinking like, this crazy Chilean, he says he's a photographer, professional photographer, but he has to clean salmon, so he's full of shit, he's just a crazy guy. And the last time I saw them, there was a raid from the FBI and the INS in the camp where we were sleeping. So they arrested them all, like some of them got deported because the INS, others were arrested because of drug trafficking. And I had my papers, at that time I had a green card, so they were going to take me too, and I was like, no, I'm a journalist, and I'm a legal resident, and they were like, okay, go. So I said, okay, I'm not going anywhere, I'm legally here in this camp, and I want to take pictures of the ride. So I took some pictures of the entire police operation, and I ran to the local newspaper in, I think we're in Wrangell or some place, I don't remember, Kenai. And I said, look, I just photographed this FBI, INS rally, people got arrested, deported, you want the pictures? And they were like, oh shit, yeah man. So they ran a series of pictures in the first page next morning. And some of the guys that didn't get arrested at that rally were looking at the paper next morning, and they were like, no shit, you serious Chilean, you're a real journalist? I'm like, yeah, I've been telling you for 4 months. And they're like, no shit, all these pictures you took, man, we want them back. And the day before, I had shipped, because I was shooting next, I was shipped everything through FedEx to my agency here in New York. So I was like, sorry guys, all the pictures are gone. They're in New York already. And they were like, whoa, man, unbelievable. Okay, go ahead, you did great. We didn't believe you, now we believe you. Crazy Chilean. It was so funny, man. That was so funny. So I photographed a lot of them like pushing drugs, and actually, well, the first pictures I took of of cocaine and crack were here in New York in 1992. You know, I used to know these people that were like shooting heroin and cocaine. And I met this guy up in the Bronx who would like to throw parties with prostitutes and take foam baths, you know, this is how you call it, foam baths or whatever, and smoke crack, you know, and he would invite me to his apartment to photograph him with, you know, with doing all this stuff. So actually in the book, the first two pictures are black and white, and they're from New York, like 1991, 1992.
Okay.
And the rest is up to now. I mean, I was in Peru last July.
So where's your most clear collection at now? Different agencies?
No, most of my collection is at Riddle's Pictures. It's an agency here in New York. Marcel Saba, very well known man. He had Saba Pictures before. Most of my collection is there. Some other pictures are at Getty, you know, and that's it. And the big part of my archive, I have it with me at home, and I wish I had a great scanner because they're all slides and negatives. I would love to put this collection somewhere else because there might be some interesting pictures in my times of India, you know, Afghanistan, South Africa. I would love
so that's a load of slides then, huh?
Yeah, I have a lot of pictures, man. There's also another agency in London that has the early stuff, like Afghanistan, and they're called Hungry Eye in London. They haven't sold a picture of mine in years, these bastards. Like, the guy is a friend of mine, the owner of the agency, so I was with him like a year ago here in New York, and he's like, "Hey, Carlos, why you send more pictures?" I'm like, "You're the worst agent ever, man.
Not turning over anything."
Like, you haven't sent a picture of mine in like ever, not one." And he's laughing his ass off, right?
So you're working on the book down in
Colombia. Colombia, I made Colombia my base. I've been there for a long time because of this Coca project, and also when I went down there, man, it was super busy. I got a lot of work. I mean, I got lots of work with the New York Times, with National Geographic, with newspapers and magazines in Europe. It was great. Now it's a little bit slow, but you know, I'm in my the last assignment I had actually this year was back like in August in Peru. But then this year I had planned to take time off to do this big edit of the Coca pictures and actually see if I have the material to come up with a book. So the last 3 months I've been doing that, editing, and then I'm going back tomorrow again. And I think pretty much the editing is done, but I still want to, you know, look at more pictures from the archive, see if there's something interesting. I've been looking and talking to a lot of people here these days, so I have new, fresher ideas, you know, that I would like to see if they work on this project. And as I was telling you, try to do this dummy.
Okay. All right, sir. So, thank you for your
no problem, man.
good talk.
Great to see you after all these years.